Episode 139. Something goes bump in the night. I sent my hearing aid in for repairs. Yeah, I haven't heard a word since. Hello and welcome to the 10 Minute Off-Road Podcast. I'm your host, Nikki G. I'm here to inform, entertain, and delight your ear holes with all things off-road for the next 10 minutes or so. Why 10 minutes? Well, I'm lying. I've actually got a couple of hours, but I don't feel like talking for 10 minutes. Imagine that. So before we get started, I'd like to go over my boilerplate legal mumbo jumbo, but I don't have to because I have a enslaved AI intern. So take it away, enslaved AI interns.
You're listening to the 10 Minute Off-Road Podcast, the podcast for the off-roader with a short attention span.
Got something to say? We would love to hear from you. Just contact the 10 Minute Off-Road Podcast at 10minuteoffroad@gmail.com. That's 10minuteoffroad@gmail.com. Or leave a comment on our YouTube channel.
You can listen to the 10 Minute Off-Road Podcast on whatever the hell you're listening to it on now, including Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, Odyssey, Podbean, Pocket Cast, Podchaser, and iHeartRadio, or through our website, 10minuteoffroad.com.
You can follow the 10 Minute Off-Road Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, but never TikTok.
Thank you very much, enslaved AI interns. You're worth every penny. And that shtick's getting old, but you got to dance with the one that brung you. All right, so start the show off. Somebody has sent me a video of somebody out in the woods camping, and they hear voices calling in out of the middle of the woods. And so that made me go down a rabbit hole of old folklore and such, and come to find out that there's quite a few old folklores up in the Appalachian Mountains, and a lot of people consider the mountains haunted, and I could understand why. They are very creepy at night. So the old folklore I want to touch on is up in the Nantahala area. The Cherokee Indians had a something like a Bigfoot, but they called it Spearfinger, which looked like an old woman with a big finger on a hand that she used to spear people. That doesn't creep me out too much. I think that's probably something Indians came up with to keep their kids out from wandering out in the woods at night or whatever. And another one I didn't know about was not a deer. Yeah. It looks like a deer, but it's kind of off. So, like the legs might bend the wrong way, or it just stares at you like it knows what's going on. It kind of looks like if you got a deer off a Temu. It looks like a deer, but it's not quite a deer. What that does, I don't know. I don't think there's any difference between a deer looking at you or not a deer looking at you or a raccoon looking at you, just as long as it's standing there looking at you. And there's a lot more old wives' tales and stuff, but the one I really want to touch on is the voices in the woods. There's an old folklore that says if you hear a voice calling out at night, screaming for help, or calling your name, ignore it, don't answer, and go inside. Close your windows, and don't whistle at night. If you whistle in the woods at night, you're calling something, and what that something is, who knows. So the old folklore goes, don't whistle at night in the woods. So back to the voices. I've seen videos of people camping and somebody yells hey or help or something out in the woods. I can tell that I've seen dozens of them, and only one that I could tell was not faked. All of them, you could just tell these people are going for an Oscar with their overreaction. It's just, you could just tell they were faked. There's one that I'm 99% sure positive it's faked, but I really couldn't tell because they did a real good job on it, but I'm sure it is. I spent a lot of time out in the woods, and I've never heard anything that I couldn't explain. A lot of these videos started on TikTok about a year or two ago. So I think it's just a viral trend of people going out in the woods and making these videos. And I imagine in a year or two that'll stop. Like I said, I spent a lot of time out in the woods, a lot of it by myself, and I have never seen or heard anything that couldn't be explained. Now, as far as voices screaming and calling out, there's a lot of different animals that can make some pretty weird sounds. A bobcat can sound like a woman crying or a child screaming, and I can understand how they can get the idea of someone screaming for help or something. Even the growls it makes is pretty ominous. So I'll play a audio bit for it. Coyotes taking down a deer or a fawnling. Fawn screams are pretty wild. Coyotes howling and just causing a ruckus sounds pretty weird too. And if you hear somebody calling out for help in the night, ignoring it is not a good idea. You know, it could easily be somebody actually in trouble and needs some help, and you're ignoring it because you're a chicken. And I believe anything that's out in the woods that wants to get you can easily get you in your campsite. They don't have to lure you out into the woods to do whatever evil harm they're going to do. I think they can just do it right in the campsite, if you believe in that stuff. I really believe the folklore came about to explain the coyotes and such, and to prevent people from wandering off into the woods. People get lost in the woods and never seen again all the time. I imagine in the old days, before the invention of flashlights and such, it happened pretty often. The woods are dangerous to walk around at night. I camped just last weekend in a place where I've never been before, and shortly, I'm talking like a few feet after my campsite into the woods, it dropped off pretty steep. Not quite a cliff, but you know, if I stepped off and rolled down it, I'd get hurt. So I imagine you can fall off it, get hurt, or even knock your head and be unconscious or dead. And a wild animal will drag you off in the middle of the night. Thus, people don't know where you are, and that's how the folklore got started. So if anybody else out there has heard something in the woods creepy and scary, I'd love to hear about it. Leave a comment, message me, email me, call me, whatever. Let me know. I'm curious. I've never heard anything I can't explain. It's not saying that I don't believe that there's paranormal stuff going on. I just don't think that they're out to do us harm, or there'd be more people ending up dead from this stuff, or there'd be more claims than just every 100 person sees something. A couple good reliable friends swear they've seen paranormal activity, and I believe them. So I believe it's out there, but I cannot find anybody that has had any harm done to them by paranormal activity. Except if you exclude the anal probing from the aliens. Why do aliens travel millions and millions and millions of light years just to stick something up our butts? I think that's an intergalactic joke, almost like cow tipping. But all right, I've rambled on long enough. Let's wrap this up. Until next time, this is Nikki G saying, wheel what you got and be happy.